start with an opening statement on the beginning of the season from Coach Smith, and then open it up to questions for either coach or Josh Edmond, 141 comments.
Had our first duel at Northern Colorado, which went pretty good. I wouldn't say great, but we're young. We're like a half and half team. We have a lot of young guys starting, yet a lot of experience with some of the other half of the team. Won our tournament this past week, which was good, but we go into a run in 10 days where we wrestle, I think, 3 teams in the top 12 or 13 in the country, one of them being 7, which is Friday, which exciting when I looked at the matchups. So many All-Americans and top-ranked people going at it, so it'll be a big duel. So excited. I think the person that made the schedule is an idiot, which is me, because I think the lowest ranked team on our schedule is like 31st or something, and so everybody else is in the top 23. So we have like 14 duels in the top 23. So we don't have an easy week. So these guys better be ready, but they're ready for it. It'll be a fun season.
Coach, just on the scheduling, being on the road so much to start the year, what are you going to worry about your team being away from home?
We talk about this and we embrace being on the road, because when we go on the road, it always attracts their biggest crowds. Northern Colorado almost sold out for us, their biggest crowd ever. We'll go to Virginia Tech, they'll have a huge crowd there. So it's a different atmosphere. It's kind of not friendly, but our guys enjoy that. You know, we're a combative sport, so when you walk in and people are screaming at you, they kind of enjoy it and embrace it, and you have to. Because I hear coaches always say, man, it's tough to play on the road or wrestle on the road. Well, guess what? If you're going to a national tournament, you're going to be on the road. If you're going to the Big 12 tournament, it's going to be on the road. So get used to it. You have to perform on the road when it counts. So this is, but the good thing of being on the road the whole first semester, we're basically home the whole second semester. So that's the light at the end of the tunnel.
Coach, gymnastics was just up here. Obviously, you're going to be competing side by side at Beauty and the Beast. Can you kind of talk about how that event came together and how you're feeling about it?
We've had it a bunch of times, and I get driven crazy by people in the neighborhood and the community. When are we doing it again? When are we doing it again? So, especially my wife, when are we doing it again? So we're doing it again. And I think it is a great event. Last time we had it, there was an ice storm. So it only drew a couple thousand people, but it still had a couple thousand people. I would be shocked now where both programs are at, both top 10 programs, that it doesn't sell out the Mizzou Arena. I mean, we have to have it in the Mizzou Arena, the reason being that Hearns is a smaller floor, and if you went to one of the Beauty and the Beast, Jaden Cox almost took out a girl on the dance routine from Illinois, and at that point I said, we can't have it anymore, it has to be in the Mizzou Arena. So but it'll be fun. It'll be one of those where the parents are ready to strangle their children in January. They've been home for the whole Christmas break. Friday night comes, they can take the whole family out and go to watch the Beauty and the Beast. What are we, the Beauty or the Beast?
Beauty.
Coach, what excites you about some of the young guys that you have in the lineup this year?
Just the way they love to practice. You know, we don't have long practices yet. You would see us still in the room in 2 hours after, because we end it and they stick around and want to grow and get better, and that's a fun part of it. It's a culture we create, but they fall right into it, and they've been here since the summer. But like this dual meet will start 2 freshmen with Gage Walker, who was a 4-timer out of Oklahoma. He's filling in till Noah gets healthy, Noah Certain, but he's just a great competitor and wants to learn, and he's in there and in the fire and doing a great job. And Aiden Sinclair will get to wrestle a kid that's ranked like 13th in the country this week, and he's the #1 recruit, so he's excited about it. He's jumping through the roof for it, that he gets to go out there and compete in front of a crowd. So I love that. You can work with people that enjoy competition, and that's what the youth bring to the program. We have some of these old guys that have been around forever, and the COVID guys, I call them. But they kind of get used to it. But when they see the energy come in, I think it brings them up. It brings back that youthful energy to the program.
Do you have any timeline for Certain and Nealon returning?
I wish it was tomorrow. How's that? But it's not. So Noah will be back in a couple weeks for sure. I mean, he just started wrestling back in the room, and Rocky is drilling again, but hasn't gone live yet, so, but they'll both be back. So I look at it in our sport, it's important to have them healthy at the end of the year, so we got to get them to where they're feeling good and ready to rock, and we'll have a good team at the end of the year. And we still have it's giving with Aiden Sinclair and Gage Walker, the guys that'll be in the lineup next year for sure. It's giving them these opportunities to get this match experience with the new rules, with the 5 matches they get to compete and not lose their red shirt. So it's really good for our sport.
Josh, you wrestled at 149 a couple years ago. What's that move to 141 been like, and how do you want to improve on qualifying for NCAA's last season?
Last year, the move down, I could have done my weight a lot better, and this year I've been on it quite a bit. I'm pretty sure Coach Smith can say something about that. And as far as like improving during the season, I just want to get on the podium and like be wrestling on Saturday night. So yeah.
Yeah, I called him a nerd the other day. Him and Geoffrey are sitting on the bus, and usually guys are doing something goofy, watching something or whatever, and they're talking about electrolytes and this and that, and in-depth things and nutrition. And I'm like, all right, you're good nerds because you know your stuff and you're doing it right, and that's a good thing.
Coach, we saw Noah Certain's gooey butter cake coffee hit the shelves with Snooks. What role has NIL played in the wrestling program from your perspective as a coach when it comes to recruiting and just overall the impact it has had on the...
Well, I can tell you I have about 10 cartons of ice cream with Keegan on it in my extra freezer, and I did see the ooey gooey in the cabinet in the pantry. So my wife buys it all and buys tons of it, and she's like, "You never know, their parents will be here. I'll give them ice cream," and so it's. But it does. It's impacted our program a lot, and in wrestling, NIL is an important thing that. We're going to sign a recruiting class today that will be 4th in the country, and a big part of that is our culture. But another part of that is having the ability to have these kids not taking, in the past in wrestling with 9 kids, 9.9 scholarships and no NIL money and 40 guys on a roster, and now it'll drop to 30. A lot of kids were taking out loans. Now kids don't have loans. Now they're having extra money in their pocket. Now kids, Keegan O'Toole just saved money and bought a house. That you're seeing kids make smart decisions with not having to worry about going into debt. And with the culture that we have, kids see that what's happening with our program, the kids getting the extra money, but also we don't really have, we had 0% in the portal in the last few years, and yet we're in a top 10 program. That we sell it to parents that come here, you're going to be developed, you're going to have lifelong friends. It's a great culture. You're going to go on. We have 10, 12 kids in grad school right now, one thinking medical school, one MBA. That it's a different type of culture, that we are really the student athletes, and I recruit it that way because our money goes further.
And then Josh, your freshman year, spring semester was kind of the beginning of NIL as a whole. How would you evaluate how it's evolved and changed since the spring semester of your freshman year?
How does it change?
Were you the spring or the summer?
Hart was still here, so I think spring or summer, yeah.
But he came in right after the canceled NCAA, so it was crazy when he got here. It was a shortened season.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I mean, this came a long way. It's giving opportunities for athletes to put money in their pockets. So I think it's a good thing for the sport and just college as a whole.
Coach, you mentioned the culture and that Tiger style mentality. Looks like you had a busy week coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about putting pen to paper there?
I freaking wrote the book in the summer so it wouldn't bug me now, and now I'm doing podcasts and people asking questions about a book, and it's the last thing I want to think of. I even had my daughter take over my social media because that's what she does in New York, and I'm like, I don't want to do it, and she's yelling at me that you never like anything or respond. I'm like, it's wrestling season. So yes, I wrote a book this summer, but it was so I wouldn't be busy right now. And yes, we're going to have a book launch. I've been told I'm going to be at a book launch on Monday and have some fun with it. But it is fun. It was a goal of mine. I ask these guys to write goals all the time and have short-term goals, long-term goals, and a goal of mine has always been to write a book. And that was 15 years ago. And so I read a lot of books. We have a giant library in my office that they read. Josh has read a lot of books out of my library, and it's just everybody's, hey, Coach, when are you going to write that book? So this summer, I decided, well, it was really a year ago it started to work, and I had already written stuff down in my phone when I'm on trips and stuff, and stories when I speak at different places, that it just came together. And I worked with Alex Demzek's little Write My Book company, and they helped me out, and we got it done. But yes, I am busy because I'm focused on Virginia Tech, and I could give a damn about the damn book. But and everybody asking, hey, can I get a copy? Will you sign me one? And all right, that's the last thing Coach Smith wants to deal with.
You mentioned the fourth-ranked recruiting class. Can you talk a bit about the recruits that have signed so far today?
You got to keep me on, keep me right. So Samson Stillwell.
He did sign. I haven't tweeted it yet because
Okay.
of this, but he is okay to talk about it.
Samson is one of them. Is one of the top heavyweights. He was on a world team, U17 world. He was really almost just, if you watch this high school career, I think I watched those matches at the Mizzou Arena. He was done in 30 seconds every match. He's a monster. He's like 6'5", 260, and he's coming in like one of the top heavyweights. So it's exciting, and he's a Missouri kid out of Kansas City. When you look at our history, Don Bradley, Mark Ellis, Zach Elam, we do pretty good with Kansas City heavyweights. So he's that next one in line, and very, very talented. He actually gave up his senior year, and he's training with Jaden Cox at the Olympic Training Center. And there's another athlete out there, but I can't talk about him. So Westfall is another kid out of the best Peyton's the best out of the best program in Missouri, Liberty, and a really good 184-pounder. All these guys have been training at our regional training center out of our room because they're Missouri kids, so they can actually practice with us in the off season and during when we have RTC practices. So we've really developed relationship and got to help with these kids and help them with wrestling, and they've taken advantage of it. And so he'll be joining us. And Dominic Baminelli is the best kid out of Georgia, one of the top kids in the country. Had a lot of the elite programs jumping in on him at the end the last couple of weeks trying to steal him away, but he stayed with us, and he'll be joining us, an amazing middleweight from Georgia, and Georgia's really stepped it up. They had their first national champ from Virginia Tech, who Logan will wrestle on Friday night, but he comes out of those clubs that are really developing kids out of Georgia that are doing a great job, and I'm excited. I told Dom's dad that I signed an NIL with him because they own Bambinelli's restaurant, so he has to send me a cheese pizza every month. That was my only stipulation with him signing with me.
You talked about the Virginia Tech matchup.
Yeah, it's a big one.
That one's been pretty close the past couple of years. What are going to be the keys for you guys heading into that?
Winning tight matches. They're all going to be tight matches. They're all nationally ranked. I mean, I think it's 7 versus 8 in the country, so it's a battle, and it's the reason we've kept them on the schedule, because it's just one of those tough battles that every single point's going to matter. I think last time we were out at Virginia Tech, Logan was wrestling, Joffrey was wrestling 57, was spinning behind at the buzzer and didn't score it, and that would have won us the duel. That didn't lose us the duel, but we lost that match, and it was a difference. And we're going to have to pull some big wins. Josh is wrestling an All-American. Keegan has a match against the number 4 or 5 ranked kid in the country, so it's 1 versus 4 or 5 in the country. There's just some really good matchups that we'll prepare them for it, but they got to go execute their game plan, and that's what we're going to see early in the season where we're at. But it's exciting. Our guys get pumped up for this. This is, go into a place like that at Virginia Tech where they like their wrestling there, and they have a great program. It's going to be a fired up crowd, but we just got to focus on what's going on in the circle.
Coach, and then David Gleason also signed.
Oh yeah, David signed today
Talk a
too.
little bit about him.
David was just a kid that was hurt his sophomore year and didn't even place in the state. And then he goes out to the Fargo and he places second in the nation or something. We're like, who is this kid? He was even at the state tournament, and we found out he's hurt. He started coming up to the training center and training with us and got to know him and his family. And then he committed to us about a year ago, and just another talented kid out of Staley High School, which produced the Elam brothers. So we have good connections in the state that really believe in the black and gold and want their kids to come here. So we've done a good job with that, with the success of what kids have gone on and done here.
Time for one more?
Josh, talked about a pretty big matchup in that Virginia Tech duel, but already faced the number 1 wrestler at 141, national champion, and Andrew Lears. How did that matchup? How is that benefiting you heading into another really tough ranked matchup?
I just look at all the matches as opportunities to get better and prepare me for the postseason. So yeah.
We good?